One. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy. Welcome to another episode of the Lo-Fi Horror Guys Growing on You Live. Today, we're going to have on the one and only HagCult. Miss M. Fersner is going to be joining the show. Cannot wait. Really big fan of her work. We're going to get her connected right here and now and get this started. Let's see here. Hello, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you doing?
I'm okay. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you so much for taking your time today. I really appreciate it, and super excited to have you on.
Oh, awesome. I'm excited to be here.
Well, cool. Thank you. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I'm really into your style, very unique stuff, and I'm really excited to dig into some of this stuff. So basically, here on Growing on You Live, I have a couple icebreaker questions first, just some fun stuff, and then the majority, the body of the interview is about you and your craft, and then I have one finale question that I wrote just for you. So if you're ready, we're gonna get this kicked off.
Awesome.
Awesome. Now, first of all, my wife and I do some traveling. So I wanted to ask you, if we were coming through Nashville and, tell me about a local, must-stop restaurant. Where would we go and what would be something that we would have to try there?
In Nashville? I'm actually, Nashville's about 2.5 hours away from me.
Okay.
I'm actually in Knoxville. It sounds similar.
Oh my Lord. Okay. My bad. I'm sorry about that. Let's go with Knoxville.
There's a pretty good barbecue place my husband and I like going to. It's called Sweet Peas. They have one near a lake, and then they have one more like dive-like one in the downtown area. But that's usually when people come to visit us. That's where we take them.
Sweet. Awesome. Yeah, it's funny because, I mean, before all of this happened, my wife and I, this summer, we're going to come to, through Nashville and the, Knoxville area, around Tennessee. And just with the pandemic and everything, it all kind of went to crap, and it's kind of a bummer, so
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, whenever, we get the chance that we're going to have to stop by there because we were planning on coming through this summer.
Oh.
Yeah. Kind of a bummer. Yeah. I mean, what are you going to do? Everything's kind of ruined. You can't really make any plans right now.
And you guys you're based in Ohio?
Michigan.
Right? Oh, Michigan.
Yep. Yep. And so, next I wanted to ask you, as far as, you and kind of touching on your interest in comics. If we were making a horror comic and you were involved and, you're in charge of the villain and illustration to it, what would the villain be in our comic? As far as a werewolf or vampires or zombies, what would you choose?
A villain. I do like drawing zombies a lot, and I think it has to do with like the texture of their skin.
Oh, yeah.
You can really go in and do a lot of kind of gross stuff and a lot of different like I said, textures, whether it could be like glossy from like blood or goo or something, or it could be crusty and more abstract.
Yeah. Okay.
Stuff. So
nice.
That's usually what I like doing.
Go to. Okay. Sweet. And just touch on that. Let's start with your origins in your interest in art and design, and were you interested in school as well? Did you go to any college for it? How did that all start?
Well, I was always really into art. Most of my siblings are creative people also, so we were always drawing and doing that kind of thing. But I didn't really, I wasn't very confident until my later teens. And as far as like art school, I went to Otis College of Art and Design. It was I wanted to do comic books, and I wasn't really sure what I was doing or if I was even good enough to go there or what. But yeah, that's where I went. Sorry, I'm just a little nervous the whole
time. No, not a problem. It's cool. Did you have, did you kind of pursue anything as far as with comics? I mean, lots of your art is definitely influenced and has, some of that look into it. But have you done any work with any of that?
I don't think so. No. I
Okay.
did an illustrated book last year. I guess that's the closest thing I've come to like, you know, doing that kind of art. It
Oh,
didn't have any
sweet.
like panels or like sequentials or anything like that,
Okay.
but it was still like a whole book from cover, to interior and the back cover that I
Oh,
got to
wow.
work on. So that was really fun.
Okay. Is that something that's released currently, or was that?
Yeah, it came out I think earlier this year. It's called Miscreations, Gods, Monstrosities, and Other Horrors.
Oh,
Um,
wow. Okay.
it's an anthology book, so there's just different, different stories and different types of art.
Oh,
Um,
wow. That sounds sweet. That's awesome. I mean, that's one of my favorite things, as far as horror movies is anthologies. So that's cool. That sounds really cool. I'll have to check into that. I didn't realize that you were involved with that.
it was fun. It had some really great stories. So,
Yeah. Was there different difficulties with, working on something like that with, other creative minds and that kind of had to learn from that experience that you can move on and take with you?
um, no, they kind of gave me free reign. Yeah, I worked with them the same way that I do with almost any project that I take on. I give them like roughs and you're just very loose sketches, and they seem to dig everything that I was throwing at them, so it was pretty smooth.
Oh, okay. Okay, that's nice. Do you have a lot of times where, you have a lot of rough drafts that you send to them, or is it generally just kind of you stick to a few things and if they like that, you move on from there, or
Normally, yeah. So I would do like the rough drafts, and if they're not liking anything, we go back to the drawing board. That's perfectly fine. I don't do anything that's very permanent or very detailed until I get that okay from whoever I'm working with. Just because you want to make sure everyone's happy.
right, right. I mean, I guess working from, myself and loving, any, just respecting artists in general, because I've never been one to be able to, put things pen to paper, and I try and it just looks like some goofy, not even anything like it. Has there been certain times, without specifics, where you've gone and, you've kind of really dug into something and they come back and they're like, no, this isn't what we want at all?
um, so far I haven't.
Oh, thank God. I just can't imagine. I've talked to some people, and they've kind of brought up like, oh my God, I spent hundreds of hours on this, or, just kind of coming up with different things, and it wasn't what was imagined. I'm just like, I cannot
Yeah.
imagine. That would be terrible.
Yeah, I try to avoid that as much as possible. I think early on in this, early stages, just because so you have a certain project and you have to do your own research also if you're not 100% comfortable, or let's say it's a movie you watched like I don't know 10-15 years ago, and you don't remember every single detail from the movie. You rewatch it, see if anything sticks out or pops out or whatever, and then from there try to like take whatever they were requesting and then mixing it with your own ideas.
Mhm.
And I think that's kind of like a fair way of like making sure everyone's you know gonna be happy, and that you do meet whatever it is that they were wanting you to create.
Yeah.
Really
Okay.
listening to whatever they're pitching at you. um, a lot of times you can have that like tunnel vision and
Right.
um, kind of forget, hey, so I like to like write things down a lot. So I'll like make
Oh,
bullet
okay.
points and be like, all right, these are the very, very clear, specific things that they requested. Don't forget these, kind of thing. So
Right. Okay. All right. Everything going well so far. Nice, nice. Tell us about your interest and inspiration behind the comic books, and what were some early interests that were first loves of yours, and a favorite comic of yours even visually.
um, early on, like I had two older siblings, and they all were into comic books. So my brother would bring in like your standard stuff. It was like Uncanny X-Men, or uh, just a bunch of like Spider-Man, Marvel comics. It wasn't until in my later teen years, I started to venture out, and I discovered the Sandman.
Oh,
And that one, you know, that one is really, to me, very visually like striking. A lot of like the panels and the splash pages, they're not very standard looking. You know, you don't have everything boxed and contained. Things are a little bit more fluid, more organic, and then you get these, you know, really interesting illustrations in the pages, things breaking out, and you just get a sense of flow a little bit better.
sure.
Um,
Okay.
it's not, yeah, like I said, it doesn't feel so contained. So Sandman to me was one of the early ones where I was like, this is different. This is not, you know, what you normally think of as like a comic book illustration, I guess.
Okay, yeah, kind of straying from, you know, like a typical image, or was it a lot of times, was it the textures, or was it, you know, just different art styles that kind of drew your eye, or was it loud colors? You know, what were earlier things that really punched out to you like that?
um, I guess early on it was really just like the dynamic poses that was like caught my attention. I wanted to.
Oh, okay.
I didn't really know why I was attracted to those types of things. I just knew that they didn't feel stiff,
Hmm.
and they didn't feel like whatever it was that I was drawing. Because like, you know, when you're first learning how to draw, you don't really understand things like anatomy and, you know, flow and those types of things. And so I knew that those drawings were a little bit more fun, and I didn't know why. And it wasn't until I went to art school and I started to like really like understand. It was because, you know, they knew and understood, you know, like I guess the anatomy and how to make something look a little bit more fun.
Oh,
And
right,
not just
right.
so, you know, here's straightforward kind of thing. So I think that's what normally attracted me to like certain illustrations. Um, it was just like they're like dynamic poses, and it makes me think of also like um, the Goon. Those drawings,
Oh,
they're
okay,
real,
yeah.
like, you know, dynamic, and it, you know, just kind of fun. And that to me, um, you can really feel the illustration. Same with like a Bernie Wrightson. Um, his drawings have so much energy in them as to like you can feel it. You know, you can feel that
Hmm.
horror in their face, or you know, you could feel like. You know, I mean, you pick up a lot from like looking at those illustrations. It's not just, you know, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah. No, I understand. And I mean, you know, you mentioned with anatomy too, and you know, the kind of the physical image in a story too. It's, I mean, I'm about 33 years old now, and I still can't understand how to get how to portray that. So I mean, the appreciation for somebody that can, you know, actually bring that to page and, you know, like really, you know, visualize that. It's impressive. It's cool. So through your body of work, if you were making an art book and you had to choose any single piece of yours, you know, up to date to feature on the cover of said book, what would you choose and why?
um, that one's kind of hard. So I think the past year or so, I've created some pieces that I'm actually, you know, pretty proud of. I'm usually kind of hard on myself. I guess we all are when we're creating something, but I think the Invaders from Mars would probably be one that I would pick. The art that I did for the EP,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it was the whole package. I don't know. It came out, you know, how kind of how I envisioned. I mean, you always envision something really grand, and you never really get there. But you know, when you get close enough, you know, it makes you feel proud and good, and you know.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
So
Yeah, I
maybe
mean,
that.
that was really one that, you know, that stood out to me as far as I think I had already been following your page and, you know, it was aware of your art. And you know, I talk with Matthew quite a bit, and I saw that they were, you know, releasing Planet Wax, and he put up that cover for the Invaders from Mars, which is one of my favorite movies seeing the, you know, the artwork, I was just like, oh my, I don't even have a choice to buy this thing anymore. Like I have, I have to, you know? So that was absolutely amazing. That's a great choice. That was really, really cool. And, I wanted to dig into, you know, that as far as you mentioning that right now with, you working on this bad boy. So we got it right here.
Yay!
Bam. Very just a beautiful package, you know, along with the set and everything. I just wanted you to kind of dig into, you know, the earlier process of Matthew getting a hold of you and kind of, you know, where it went from, you know, from earlier ideas to actually what, you know, the fan got.
um, well, he kind of when he first approached me, I want to say he just kind of was like, you know, give me some ideas or that kind of thing. And he wasn't very specific on what he wanted. He just kind of let me, you know, do what I wanted. So I came up with a couple different concepts and layouts and just different thumbnails for him, and he really liked them all. um,
Nice.
so I want to say he let me pick the one, or maybe he picked it. I can't remember exactly anymore. But for the cover, the front part, so we
Okay.
did that. I started doing like a cleaner, more refined sketch of that, and then I didn't realize that I had to do everything. So we ended up using maybe like, let me see, one, two, three of maybe like the four. I want to say I did four concepts. So we ended up using all of them, most of all of them, in the actual packaging. So you know, we started off with thumbnails, moved on to a more detailed, refined pencil sketch. From there, waited on him to give me approval on that before I went and did like more of a permanent medium, which it would be, you know, I do inks.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I ended up doing the inks. From there, I move on to the colors and type. Um, and I guess that's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. I mean, and it turned out absolutely just, you know, as far as like the vibrancy of it, even, you know, there's certain things where you have, you know, you have like an imagery and you kind of, you know, you see it initially, but it's just, I mean, it has no choice but to pop as far as like the colors too was, you know, was that a earlier kind of idea that you wanted to go with the purples and greens with that, or did you have different color schemes that you tried?
um, I did try different color schemes, but those were the ones that I liked the best, and I think those were the ones that
Mm-hmm.
talked to him too. And they're colors that are actually in the movie.
Yeah, right.
They're used a lot in the movie. A lot of like the, you know, ideas with the art itself, um, I picked up from the movie, like the circle shapes, that repetition. You see it a
Mm-hmm.
lot in the movie from like the caves or like the laser beams. You know, it's just this constant like, you know, um, thing you see in the movie. So a lot of like that, like the colors and that. I don't know. I can't. I feel like I can't take credit for that.
Okay. I mean, yeah, and it makes sense too, you know, as far I just didn't know if there was, you know, initially like if you had a couple of other different things that you tried or if that was just the first thing that came to you and it was like, well, I mean that works.
No, I usually do different um, color variations.
Yeah. Okay.
That way, you know, if they're not liking one color, whoever the client is, you know, we can change things up. It doesn't have to stay, you know, whatever it is that I've said. Hey, here's your color. That's what you get.
Right, right. I mean, even then they'd probably be like, oh, all right, yeah, well, that's fine. So, you know, mentioning on that, tell me about, you know, your first horror movie that you watched and where, you know, your earlier memories of horror in general came about.
um, I'm gonna be honest. I can't remember exactly what was the first horror movie I ever watched.
Okay.
One of the reasons is, and this was back in the 80s, and it felt like there was always a horror movie on in the background.
Okay.
Um, you know, my family, they didn't really like they didn't really care. They had those, they would run those movies all the time. They were always on. You know, we were all little kids, but we were always watching them, and they were always in the background. My older brother was really into horror movies, so once we started getting a little bit older, we watched them a little bit more. But you know, I guess one of the earliest that I can remember watching was one that scared me was Dolls, and the reason that that one kind of scared me is so I when I was little, I was maybe like six, 7, maybe somewhere around there.
Damn.
So we
Oh God.
I have 3 sisters, and we all slept in the same room. And my mother had these porcelain dolls in our room. We weren't allowed to play with them. They were in these like shelves, and they would just stare at you. So one of the reasons why I was into that movie is because we had those porcelain dolls in the room, and I just always thought they were going to come to life, kind of thing.
Hell yeah.
There's that one. Early horror movies. I'm trying to think. I mean, that's the one that I always think of.
It pops out to you. Yeah. I mean, I feel like even without horror movies, you know, ruining those things, those dolls have always been terrifying to me. Like anytime people have a collection of them, you know, they're like, oh, they're so cute. It's like, I don't know how you see that as cute at all. It's terrifying.
Because they're like little adults, because they weren't dressed like babies or anything. They were dressed like little adults in, I don't know.
Creepy. So now, you know, touching on horror once again, if you could say 3 scenes in any horror movies, you know, that were just forever ingrained in your brain, whether just disgusting, messed up, just terrified you, what are some things that come to mind?
3 scenes. I always think of one of the early ones, and it's a silly one actually. But in Dream Warriors, Nightmare on Elm Street, and this one was a funny, you know, for us we thought it was funny. When we were kids, we would always kind of quote it. We'd say when the nurse is making out with that kid, so we were just like feeling a little tongue-tied. When we were little kids, we would go around quoting that. We didn't realize the sexual aspect of that. We just thought it was funny.
Right.
So a lot of like those Nightmare on Elm Street movies, when we were kids, we would watch them, and we didn't get that terrified just because of like what he was saying. We thought they were kind of funny, but there's that one.
Nice.
Later, I guess one that kind of sticks to me is and this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't seen Pieces, maybe don't.
Oh yes.
Listen, but you know, the end scene. I actually rewatched it recently at a film festival, and it's always interesting to listen to the way men react to that scene. It's kind of funny, but that scene at the end is one that always sticks to my head. And actually, there's another movie that came out. I want to say it was last year, and I also watched it during a film festival here in town called the Knoxville Horror Film Festival. It's called Porno. I can't remember who directed it.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen that yet. I know what you're talking about though.
There's a
feel free to talk about it.
I'm not going to go into super specifics just because it's still fairly new and people haven't seen it. But
sure, okay.
There is a scene in that movie that had a similar reaction. We were in the dark, you know, super packed theater, and I could promise you, there was not a man in there that was not like squeamish or like just feeling uncomfortable. It was interesting.
Oh God.
I personally don't feel squeamish when those scenes are on, but like it's memorable because of other people's reactions. So, and then
Nice. Nice.
another one would be in the burning
Oh, yes.
the fingers. One other reason that one sticks to me, um, and this is going to sound kind of lame or whatever, but when I was younger, I actually did ice skating. And one thing that I was always terrified of, and it was nothing that ever happened or nothing that I ever saw, but I always envisioned like when I was skating, what if I jumped and then what if I landed on some kid that had, had their hand on the ice, and the way, this is just the way I was thinking, is like, I'm gonna land on somebody's hand and then their fingers are gonna be like completely chopped the same way that like it is in like burning. I don't know why, but like I
Holy
always
shit.
visualize those fingers on the ice. And so whenever I saw that movie, I was like, that's pretty much, one of my worst fears is like those fingers. But yeah.
That is so crazy. Oh my God. Have you, I mean, I don't know if you were ever into hockey at all with, ice skating, but there's a video from the 80s that is still on YouTube today. It's a goalie that gets hit in his neck with an ice skate and it just bleeds everywhere. It's like one of the most stomach turning things to this date that I've ever seen. It's disgusting. But you mentioned that's always been a thing because I've always loved hockey. I'm like, man, those skates are so sharp. Like it would take nothing to just ruin somebody's day.
Yeah, and I mean, you never like hockey's a violent sport, so like that's very aggressive. So you're bound to see that kind of stuff happen there, but like not in like where I was
Not
going
ice
with just
skating,
like the
yeah.
kids. The thing was like when you're skating or when you were trying to skate during like public sessions, there's always like little kids that are like running around, throwing themselves and like doing stuff. So I always was afraid of doing certain things when it was like the like the public sessions, because I always thought I'm going to like land on somebody and someone's and the blood and yeah.
Oh my God. That is fucking hilarious. Holy shit. So let me ask, one of the only draws for film for the longest time, for decades, was posters and cover art. And I wanted to ask you if you had any ideas of, an example of a great movie that had just absolutely terrible cover art.
A great movie with terrible cover art. That one's hard just because normally like I feel like it's the other way around.
Yeah, yeah, for
But
sure.
like
I feel like something that comes out, to mind is like in the 90s when they were doing the dimension floating heads thing,
oh
it
yeah.
never did any credit, toward the movies, and you're just like, okay, I see who's in it, but this isn't drawing me.
Yeah, and you say that, I think like right now I'm thinking of it's not the worst poster, but it's not a good one either.
Yeah,
And
yeah, right.
movie, but like like Videodrome, uh, you know,
Yeah,
that movie, you get so many like great like visuals, and then I feel like the poster just doesn't like quite match it. I mean, it's a photo of like Debbie Harry, and I mean she's beautiful and all, but like
right, right.
it just I don't get a lot of like the I feel like it just doesn't match. It's
Yeah,
not a
like
bad poster, like I said, and it just I feel like it's not matching.
sure, okay. Do you have any ideas of a movie that was a bad movie but had great cover art?
Yeah, I could think of a few.
Yeah.
And it
Nice.
sucks because a lot of this stuff, I like a lot of what would be considered bad movies.
Oh, right,
But
right.
right now, the ones that come to mind, I really like. I like the art for the Swamp Thing poster, but that
Yeah.
movie is I just can't.
Damn.
I personally don't like it. Just like
It's
the
a hard subject, but I agree. Like it's one where I've probably watched once all the way through, and I've never fully come back to
it's
it.
the makeup. I guess it just you can't help but just giggle throughout the whole thing.
Right, right,
But I mean, it's not. I don't know. I don't hate the movie. I just
right.
not, and maybe there's one that I was thinking of. Uh, it's a little bit misleading also. but the art for like society is so striking.
Oh
It
yeah.
almost looks like a, like a classical illustration,
Hmm.
the way that it's done with that stark black background. And then you get the movie and it's not, it has none of that class. I
Yeah, right.
guess it sort of does, but
It tries, yeah, right.
but yeah, those are just the two that are coming to mind right now.
Okay. All right. I like that. One thing about your style that I appreciate is that, you keep kind of, professional to your artwork and to your craft, as far as personals, as far as private life, you don't throw out a whole lot. And I love that. There's a whole lot of people nowadays that just like, putting everything online and, checking in on places on Facebook, and it's annoying as shit to me. So with that, let me just say, it got me thinking about horror films and how sometimes, the mysterious creature or, that you never see, or, the noise that happens somewhere doesn't ever, fully appear. Do you have any ideas or anything that comes to mind as far as, these things that were effective, in not revealing themselves, movies wise?
Um, I'm gonna go with something that may be a bit like, I guess, abstract, ish. But
Nice.
like I do really love in like Carpenter's thing, the how you don't really get to see, you know, the villain or whatever it is that's creating all this like tension and
Hmm.
paranoia, until like I guess the end. But I think that's one that's coming to mind right now.
Okay.
Just because it's more like the invisible
Yeah,
enemy,
right.
I guess.
Keeps a little bit more to like a mystery and not, just fully, full in your face there.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. And now we touched on earlier as far as, your Invaders from Mars 7-inch, which was that was a limited thing as well, right? As far as with it was for Record Store Day, so it was just the certain couple of copies.
Yes.
Have you are you doing anything as far as, possibly at some point doing like a print of that?
No, of like the Invaders from Mars.
Yeah, the artwork.
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
I think it's just going as is. Like that's what we're going to leave it as.
Yeah. Okay. So this is okay. There we go. It was like buffering for a second. I didn't know if I lost you. In
Oh,
that. Sorry. Sometimes, like for whatever reason, the application like kind of seems like it's buffering or going, and I'm probably just sitting here looking like a dumbass, not saying anything. My bad. So now, as far
maybe
as
that's when the
with
shades help. I should
yeah,
have
yeah,
listened.
yeah. With all that you've accomplished so far, and the things that you have done and worked on with books and prints and your artwork, do you have things that are on your design bucket list? Do you have certain things that are just you want to accomplish with this, or that you had on a bucket list and have already done?
Okay, things that I haven't done yet. I would really love to work like on a, I guess the magazine cover or something like that, like an illustrated one.
Sure.
Um, Maybe one day I'll get to create a comic book. Who knows?
Nice.
um, uh, I would love to work on a like a slipcase for like a Blu-ray or something like that. I get to see
Oh
a lot of
yeah.
artists doing that, and it always just looks like so much fun. I'm like, oh, I would I love thinking of like the whole package.
Hmm.
There's something about that, and I realized that when I worked on the Invaders from Mars, and then when I like I told you I was working on that illustrated book. But there's something about thinking of an overall package that is just really like fun because you get to, I don't know, it's not just that one piece. You have to
Oh,
create a
okay.
whole thing, and there's something about that to me feels a little more complete. I don't know
Yeah.
if
Okay.
that makes any sense, but you get to hold it and see it, and I don't know. There's
Yeah.
something nice
Okay.
about it.
It seems like that would be something, more that would be a little bit more stressful as far as the approach and, the attack on that. But I mean, that's interesting that, it's more of an appealing thing to you, for taking on, that much more of a project.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Cool. And now, aside from those, you would just mention something about, working on a movie. Is there a specific movie that comes to mind, that you feel like the art doesn't do justice, and you would love to just slap out the perfect artwork for?
Can I create the perfect armor? Let's see.
I mean, you
I
did this
think that would
Invaders
be
from
kind
Mars,
of.
and that turned out fucking amazing. So,
Thank you. Um, I, there, you were talking about something like that being stressful, but it's like it's hard to like tackle on stuff like that and feel like you're personally doing it justice. Like you can only try and like I'm thinking right now. Recently, I did a poster. Fabio Frizzi was in town, and so I did a poster for the Beyond. And
oh
there was
wow.
so much art already out there for it, and
Hmm.
great art.
Right.
And so I sat there and just like, man, what do I do here? Because like, there's so much out there already that's so good. So you just have to kind of sit there and really try to like push yourself and think of things that haven't. You have to create. It's almost like you have to create new imagery now because everything's already been done pretty much.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm trying to think of what movie.
Yeah, I mean that is hard, with especially titles that are a little bit more, popular in different things. It's kind of hard because there's so much good stuff out there. But I think the cool thing is too is that you still see different movies that are being, re-released. Gary Pullen just released, I think, for Arrow, American Werewolf in London. It
Yeah,
was like a steelbook,
yeah, I saw
package.
that. That was great.
Cool as shit. I mean, it's just it's awesome. And I think that's the cool thing too is that, even though there are movies, like with the Beyond, your aspect, how you look at things, it adds, a different flavor to it, and people are like, oh shit. I mean, I got to jump on that. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Huh. Okay. So and that was something that you ended up doing. You did a poster for it.
yeah. It
Oh,
was a
sweet.
tour poster. It was I think who was touring with them? It's the Cadabra Records, I want to say. But
Damn.
it was something I did for them, just to like the local showing.
Oh, okay.
So he
Okay. And
came to town. We watched the movie and he played. So that was
damn,
cool.
that rips.
It was
That is
pretty fun.
awesome. Yeah, for sure. I can imagine. And another thing too is like Vinegar Syndrome. I don't know if you follow them or not.
Yes.
Them and Severin. Those are other,
Yeah.
companies that have really, really cool stuff coming out, and they have movies coming out. I guess it's kind of the fun thing with the '80s and '70s and horror in general is, it's like for the longest time I thought that I knew all of the movies out there, and I'd go to my local video store and see all the VHS. There's movies still being unearthed that
Yeah.
I've never even fucking heard of. It's wild.
Yeah.
So with touching on that, that's concluding our interview. I do have one more question, but this
Sure.
is kind of your time to just plug your shop and tell us what you might have going on coming up.
What's coming up? Trying to think. I've got a few art shows for Hero Complex Gallery. They're like group art shows.
Oh,
I've got a few
sweet.
coming in. I think there's one in December and maybe one early next year.
Okay.
As far as stuff that I can share.
Sweet. Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, trying to get some new art prints out as well this year. Yeah, this year kind of made it hard. So,
Bummer. Yeah.
but yeah, I kind of miss the whole, one of the things that, I always like doing is getting a new print out for like conventions, and that, just didn't really happen this year. So,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Okay. Somebody was just asking if you do commissions or if you have a commission list.
I do, yeah, I do commissions. There's normally like a bit of a wait. it just depends. A lot of times it just depends on the project and how fast they want to turn around. Like if they're like, here's a commission, I need it like next week. I'm like, well, I can't do that,
Right.
But so it just depends. But I do take on commissions.
Okay, all right. That brings up something too, as far as do you have a certain piece that you've worked on that's taken you the longest, that's in your catalog right now?
It took the longest.
I'm always interested in that because there's some people that, I've had somebody who had mentioned that they worked 500 hours on something. I'm just like,
Oh.
what is 500 hours?
I don't know that I've worked on something for 500 hours. The one I'm thinking of recently is I did a poster for the local film festival here in town, for the Knoxville Horror Film Festival. This year we did it at the drive-in because of pandemic. So that illustration, I don't feel like I am the best illustrator when it comes to pushing certain perspectives, like as far as whether it's going to be like a 3-point or a 4-point or whatever complicated perspective. So I hand draw everything. I'm not tracing or like using guides in Photoshop or where it would help, or having like a grid type of thing where it would probably help. So I'm having to figure this out, and I think I went through maybe 3 or 4 different sketches, real sketches, before getting to like a perspective that felt like it was realistic. And this is a real, even though it was pushed, and in real world it probably could not and does not exist, but it's realistic enough where you can look at the piece and not question it. Like sometimes you'll look at certain drawings and be like, this is wrong, I don't know why it's wrong, but it's wrong, and it's because something in the perspective drawing or that technical drawing is off.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I would draw it and I'd look at it, step away, and it was driving me crazy, and I'd have to look at it through a mirror to try to figure out what was wrong. And because it'll reflect and it'll pronounce what's wrong if you look at it through a mirror.
Weird.
So I would just crumble it, start from scratch again. Here we go.
Oh,
shit. I think that one was one where I kind of struggled with that perspective. It's one thing where I try really hard to push myself in, because I know I'm not the best when it comes to that kind of technical drawing, but you're never gonna get better unless you try and tackle.
Keep pushing.
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. Okay, awesome. That's great. And the mirror thing. Where was that just a trick that you stumbled upon, or I've never heard that before?
No.
Is that a known thing? I guess I'm not an artist, so.
I wanna say I learned that my first year in college.
Okay.
We were drawing, maybe we were drawing people, learning figure drawing, and one of the teachers was like, well, if something's wrong, you can't point it out. Take your drawing and look at it through a mirror. And it's something to do with the way the brain works. I don't know, but if you take that drawing, let's say you were drawing a portrait and there's something wrong with it, and you're like, we don't know what it is. So you put it in front of a mirror, and then you realize, well, this eye's lopsided, so that's what's wrong here.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. So.
Wow. Yeah, that's wild. I'm interested in that just because it's just something where I've always aspired to do. But like I say, I try to draw old Ernest here, and it would look like a doorknob. So I'll try. All right, so this is bringing us to our finale, and another aspect that I've learned through different interviews that I've read about you, and with your fashion and your attire, and you have kind of come into creating your own clothes, creating attire of a sort. And I don't know if it's something that you've done for a long time. First of all, just kind of touch on that. Where did that start?
The fashion stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think I had mentioned earlier that I have very like creative siblings. My older sister, she was always the one that was drawing the most, and
Okay.
she was more of the person that went to like, art programs. I never did any of that stuff when I was younger. She did that, and
Okay.
she, when she graduated from high school, she immediately went into the Fashion Institute of Design
Oh.
in LA. And so she started to, move into fashion. And I feel like that's where I kind of sort of cheated there in learning anatomy, because, I wasn't in college, but I was learning these things from her, like while she was in school. And then we were kind of nerdy kids, so we were always wanting to learn things. So when she's going and learning how to like make structure, like you get your 9 heads for like drawing the figure. I was learning all those things. So if she was learning pattern making or whatever fashion thing she was learning, I was also kind of learning it also
Oh,
because I
wow.
wanted
Okay.
to. She ended up working in fashion, and then I kind of sort of ended up working also in fashion, um, like I guess my day job kind of thing.
Yeah.
But as far as like mixing that with like the hack cult stuff, just because I like to keep my hack cult stuff strictly illustration,
Mm-hmm.
um, I don't really share a lot of like more like the apparel stuff.
Oh,
But
okay.
I was somebody, Kate, I think her name is Catherine from Whirling Turban.
Oh.
She creates like dresses and those
Mm-hmm.
kind of things. She found my work. I'm not sure how, um, but she really liked it. And to me, it's kind of interesting because I tend to draw very dark stuff, and her work and the kinds of dresses that she creates are very bright and very for whatever reason she really liked what I was doing and wanted to work with me and collaborate with me, and turned out we had very similar tastes.
Right.
So we created like I'm not sure if you saw, it
With
was
the hands on it?
yeah, a textile piece.
Yeah.
um,
Sick.
but yeah, like that was, yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I don't wear dresses, obviously, but if I did, I'd wear that for sure.
Oh goodness.
All right, let me ask. So that was kind of an introduction into my actual finale question.
Uh-huh.
With design and with fashion. If a movie came along, where you could do costume design and it would be like a dream project. Whether it was like a sequel to a movie that you loved from your childhood, or if it was maybe even a reboot, or just a movie that from a director that you absolutely love. What would be a movie that would come along, or a director that you just could not say no to?
I'm trying to think of someone like a
Yeah, it's gonna be that's tough. I'm sorry, it's a loaded question, but
yeah, like a contemporary one.
just whatever comes to mind.
Well, one of the things, costume design, I would have to pick two different ones, and for two different, very, very different reasons.
Okay.
The first one, maybe not specifically, oh, maybe, but like in like a lot of giallos, you get that very almost stylized fashion world. Things are very, I don't know if it's because they're Italian or what, but they're just very almost like high end
Yeah.
looking stylings. So maybe like if I could work with Argento, that would be awesome. But if
Yeah.
we're thinking costume design, more of a uh, period pieces or anything like that, maybe like a Guillermo del Toro or something is a little bit more intricate.
Oh
Costume
yeah.
designing is a lot more, and I actually enjoy costume designing. I've done a few different things for like shorts and things like that that my husband likes to work on. He writes a lot, so
Oh really? Wow, that's
yeah.
sweet.
So I do a lot of like concept art for him, a lot of costume stuff, costuming, and it's always fun. It's different than
Uh,
what I normally do, just because you can kind of slow down a little, whereas like you're not, and you create your own world too, kind of thing. But
right.
there's something about that where you can just, focus on something a little bit more organic, like like the fabric or I don't know.
Yeah, no, no, that's cool. I didn't know that. I mean, so does your excuse me? Does your husband does he do shorts? Does he film or is he a
Yes.
writer?
Well, both. So he does work on shorts. He has started his own company called Dirty Drag Pictures,
Oh,
and he's put out a few different, just kind of shorts that we play in the film festivals. But yeah, he's a great writer, and so
damn.
it's easy to feel inspired when that when you're reading something and you instantly like get visual inspiration from the words. So
Hmm.
um, yes.
Wow. Well, that's awesome. I didn't realize that you already were dabbling in stuff like that. That's really really cool. I'll have to check out his page too. Does he have an Instagram as well, or does he have a page online
I
at all?
think he has one on Facebook.
Oh, okay.
Maybe
All right.
maybe a Twitter. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Sadly, all I have is Instagram because I'm not a
Yeah.
technological person, so even this shit's a little much sometimes. But well, look, this has been absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for your time today. You done great. This was so cool. I hope to see you sometime at a convention.
So thank you, and apologies on the awkwardness.
Jesus, stop. It's the technology. I was the same at one point too. That the camera's kind of freezing, and so I'm gonna have to go back and edit a little bit where I'm probably just sitting there looking like I'm just staring and yeah. So, well, thank you so much once again. This has been absolutely awesome. I look forward to your future endeavors, and this has been great. So, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Everybody, the Lo-Fi Horror Guy, we have M with HagCult. You guys take care. Stay safe. Bye-bye.
He's a lo-fi horror guy. Yeah, he's kind of a guy, but he is so lo-fi, lo-fi, a horror guy. Yeah.